everyone, Jane Craig here, Brand Swan. I just want to take a minute to welcome you and also thank our sponsor, Global Merchant Partners. They're a credit card processing company and they specialize in letting you keep more of your money, which is pretty cool. So without them, doing the video content would be almost impossible. It's quite time consuming. And as you know, we do this just to highlight the women in this community. We don't really get anything in return. So thank you so much for GMP for letting us continue to do this for the 7th annual year. So without further ado, let us go into the interview.
Hi everyone, Jane Clark here with Ellyn Herbert and Kelsey Buckingham, as always. We have a special treat today. We have Ellyn Herbert, who I just introduced, who's actually my nomination. So she has been a certified leader and teen coach for over 18 years. In 2004, she founded HERBIZ, and that's how we met, a Delaware leadership development coaching company for women. She works with mid and senior level managers to develop their teams and also works with organizations to create leadership development programs. In addition to her coaching, Ellyn is an economic development specialist for the SBA, the long version being the U.S. Small Business Administration, where she helps small businesses start, grow, and succeed. So please welcome, and that's where I work with Ellyn right now, behind the scenes with SBA. Yeah, I see her a lot of times behind SCORE. I feel like there's a lot of here we're not talking about, but tell us a little bit about what kind of, your hands are all over the place here in Delaware and beyond. So who are you? What do you do? And how did it all start?
Oh my gosh. That's a big question, right? So it started as most of us, right? I was a young professional on a trajectory, professionally speaking, and I got married and I got pregnant and I had my first child. And having my first child, he was a preemie. It was a high-risk pregnancy, and he was born 3.5 pounds. And with that, I just kind of felt all of my plans about, childcare and nannies and going back to work because I need work was not going to fit in at that time. And so I did not go back to my corporate gig in human resources. What I decided to do was stay home and take care of this preemie baby and help him develop. Well, pretty soon into that, he developed pretty quickly. It was very, very obvious that he was really thriving in the world as an infant, as much as you can thrive, right? On your own, but he was thriving and I was bored.
Really?
Really. But I had a great situation. My husband was a business owner. And so as a wife, I poked my nose into his business. And I said, we need to replace my income. So what can we do to help this business grow? And so I started to work with him. And he introduced me to a great life of entrepreneurship. And fast forward, he's having a conversation with a friend one day whose girlfriend is getting certified and trained to be a professional coach, life coach. And Jeff comes home to me and says, you need to be a coach. And I go, what? He goes, what he was telling me is exactly what you do. You already do it. You need to do this. You need something for you. And I was like, oh my gosh, that would be so cliche. Like a human resources professional becoming a coach. Absolutely not. But he kept sort of saying, you should consider this. And I went to an event. It was a rah-rah cheerleading event where some school was talking about the coaching curriculum. And I drank the Kool-Aid. And why I drank the Kool-Aid is specifically because my life circumstances, if I were to choose to continue in corporate America, I would not have been supported in the way I needed to be in order to be successful on both fronts. And there was no mentoring around that in terms of making those decisions. So I found myself in an either or situation. And that event where I was really learning what the methodology and the proficiencies of coaching were became so much more than a cliche. It was like, oh my gosh, this is a path for helping women in corporate America. And so I chose to do that. And then the SBA side, now, if you remember, my husband's a business owner. I'm a business owner with an executive coaching practice, and 2008 happens, the financial meltdown.
Yeah.
And we were both casualties of that as small business owners. Both of our incomes were impacted, and we made a bet with each other. The first one to find a traditional job loses. I was fortunate and lucky enough to find that job at the SBA. It was in perfect alignment with my skill sets and my competencies and how I help individuals in terms of visioning and succeeding on their own terms. And so I do that in both ways. Working with the SBA is my 9-to-5 gig. I do it within the context of the SBA programs and services. It's how we started working much more closely together, Jane, right? Because you are a SCORE mentor, and SCORE is one of our resource partners. And then on the side, through referrals, I have a part-time gig that I continue to do executive coaching. And what the coaching that I do is based on, I coach the person, not the problem, right? So whatever the circumstance, whatever the context is that the person is functioning and operating in, that person has to show up, right? With a certain mindset, with skills, understanding strengths, weaknesses, superpowers, and how effective they are, how satisfied, how fulfilled they are, how happy and joyful they are, depends on them, not the circumstances. And so it's completely different, the distinctions between what I do at SBA and what I do for coaching. Does that answer your question?
It does. And I'm almost wondering if it like wiggles into question number 2, like someone has to be coachable to work with them, but what's the most important personality trait or strength to have as a coach?
Yeah.
You think?
I love that question, but the coach in me, that whole comment that you made about someone has to be coachable. I love that. We think that. I believe everybody is coachable, but with an understanding that not everyone is coachable by me. Does that make sense? Yeah. If you find that, anyone that's either engaged with a coach or had a coach and it didn't quite work, that means the fit wasn't there.
Yeah.
It wasn't. So my coaching doesn't work for everybody, but it works for some. And those are my peeps, right? And I know who they are after 18 years of coaching. I know who they are. I can tell it from a conversation, from language, from the rapport that's being hit. But also it's energetic. I can see it in their body language.
Yeah.
Right.
When they're engaged, right?
When they're engaged, and their eyes start to just light up. Their body becomes relaxed, and they go, "Oh my gosh!" Right? They start having these deep awarenesses that help them take action, because they start to get a sense of responsibility for something bigger than their circumstance. So I just needed to address that. That's kind of like a soapbox of mine. Everybody is coachable, just not by me. And that's okay. I'm good with that.
Yeah. Find the right fit, I think, is paramount for anything, really.
But back to your question, which I love that question, the trait or the competency to be a coach is absolutely emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Is having a deep awareness of yourself as a coach, because the coach is not the expert. right? The underlying core foundation of a coaching mindset, embodying a coaching mindset, is that client, that individual that the coach is there engaged with and helping, is the expert in their own situation. They're the expert on themselves, their situation, and they are enough. They are not entering into a coaching engagement because they need to be fixed. They are more than enough. They just want more.
Yeah.
Right. And that, having that ability to separate yourself, not having to prove yourself, not having to solve a problem, but just to, we call it hold space and grace for that client, as that client really starts to engage with their own life and see the possibilities, requires extreme emotional intelligence. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So did you ever have a mentor or yeah.
Another soapbox of mine. No, I never have. Can you believe that?
Or a coach?
Yeah, for anybody. But I think it's generational. But every time I'm asked that question, and you could imagine, Jane, I'm asked that question a lot, right? In my profession. It's one of the things that I'm a big advocate for. I'm a mentor to many. I encourage everybody to be a mentor. When you see somebody, that could use a little boost or a little encouragement or support on any level. But I really, I look back at it all the time. I have never had a mentor professionally. I had a mentor in college.
I didn't have any of that either. I just sort of, and I don't know if we like to figure stuff out ourselves, possibly. For you, what do you think it was? Just not the opportunity, or?
No, generational, I think, plays a part in it. Mentorship when I was an emerging young professional leader, if you will, mentoring, sponsoring somebody within the work environment was not a thing. I grew up with the good old boys network, right?
Yes,
that was not methodical, systematic, or structured, right? It was just like, hey, you sound like me, you look like me, we're buds, right?
Yeah.
Didn't fit into that power structure in that way. You were just an outlier and left to your own devices. And I'm hearing myself say that, Jane. That's strong language. And now that I've matured 30 years into my career, I don't feel, there's no bitterness or judgment to that anymore.
Right. Yeah.
But when I was a young professional, I was like, hey, why am I being cut out? Right. And there are so many marginalized segments and that happens with. So.
Yeah. That your age, your sex could be a variety of things. So if you could go back and give your 18-year-old self one piece of advice, knowing what you know now, what would it be?
So here's my word, and I crack up every time I hear myself say it.
Okay.
The word is disciplined. Be disciplined. So it took me 20 years to learn that.
I think I did it without even knowing. My dad always said, show up to work every day between the hours of 9 and 5, working on client stuff, right?
Yes. The transactionals are the easy piece, right? Like what you said, I could show up. I am reliable. I will show up. You give me a task list, I will blow it out of the every single time. But those bigger things about, those visions that we have for our life, the discipline that's needed to do that, that's extracurricular, is a challenge. And that's what I mean by discipline. When I look back at my 30-year career, I look back at things that I started and didn't finish because of a lack of discipline. And if I had finished it, my goodness, where I would be today. So,
I mean, you have to worry about, balancing your work life and your home life. And sometimes there's just not enough left of you at the end of the day to really do those extracurriculars, I think. Do you have any tips on how people can be more disciplined in that way?
Well, one thing, thank you for that, right? Saying that to me, who is looking at like 20 years of wasted time, right? But it's
No,
the
no.
fact that you said that, like, thank you. So I would say right behind that is listen to your friends. Listen to other people that you respect and admire, because they might have a nugget of wisdom for you when you're beating yourself up. And that's what I heard when you were saying that, Jane, right? But
Yeah.
work-life balance. So like I said, 30-year career so far, right? Hoping for it to be another 30 years. I love working. I love what I do. But the first 20 years was really figuring out work-life balance. And that's where having children just sucks the discipline out.
I believe that.
You are every day just dealing with some fire that has to be put out, because, at least for me, because being a mom was not a natural come from. So I had to learn to be a good mom, and that took some doing. But work-life balance, after really getting comfortable in my own skin, being a mother, a working mom, what I help my clients understand is anything that's worth doing gets figured out in terms of structure. Because when you know what's important to you, when you have your why, that great Simon Sinek, what's your why? When you know your why, when you know your purpose of what you're doing, and you can look at everything on your task list and align it to that purpose, it gets figured out. It's when it gets in those gray areas and you don't know why you're doing something. And it's exhausting, and then it can get away from you. So it's know your why, know your purpose, and align all of your tasks with that.
What's been a question that you wish I asked you that I didn't so far? Anything you want the world to know that I've yet to ask you?
This is such a weird thing to say. It sounds arrogant. So
That's okay.
right? Because I'm a female, so I hesitate sounding arrogant.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say it anyway, because I think it's really important. The answer to this question is really important. And the question would be, do you see patterns out of all the people that I've helped, or I've coached, or I've mentored? Are there any patterns, common denominators? Do you want me to answer it?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm like hanging on the edge of my seat. I'm like, come on, Ellyn.
Give me the goods. And the answer is yes. And that common denominator is this. Until it changes, right? And the common denominator is we all feel alone. We all feel unsupported. And we all want to be seen.
Yeah.
Right? For the things like I may be seen or you may be seen, but it has to align with what you value. If you do not, if someone's valuing you for something that you do not value in yourself, you do not feel seen.
Yeah. Definitely.
I work on that a lot in coaching conversations.
Give me some nuggets to think on this morning. Maybe after my second cup of coffee. So you get your hands in a lot of pots here. But it all really stems, from just your desire to help people, I think. So what change do you want to see in the world? I mean, maybe, and how are you aiding that cause, of course? Or maybe you're not aiding that cause, but that's okay. I want to hear about it anyway.
Yeah. What change do I want to see in the world? So if I had a magic wand and I look through some Pollyanna rose-colored glasses,
Mm-hmm.
I would say, no more wars. I put on my Miss America sash, and I would say, no more wars, no more fighting. Can't we all just get along? Right? Can't we all just look at our neighbor and say, you're doing the best you can, just like me,
Right.
right?
That's a hard one, spanning,
Right?
continents for sure,
Like, globally.
globally.
But the impact that I have, that I feel I can have, in the little carve out that I've done for myself, is on an individual level, help individuals understand themselves and know that they are so much more than what they fear.
Yeah.
Right? To start focusing on what they are instead of what they're not. Yeah.
You said a lot of quotable things during this interview, which we're definitely going to highlight in the article. But what quote do you live by?
So, harking back to one of my answers, that I don't feel like I've ever had a professional mentor that's really groomed me and brought me along, right? And helped me, slowed me down when I was going off the rails, or really elevated some huge talent of mine. But Maya Angelou is someone that I admired my whole career and tried to model myself after her. She was a huge role model for me. And I could probably pick out so many of her quotes, and I'd be like, this one and this one and this
Yeah,
one.
I know.
Especially the one that they won't remember what you say, they'll remember how you make
How
them
you made them feel. Yeah.
But she has a quote that's kind of obscure that really does reflect a lot of me, my personality, and my projection. A lot of what people see in me. And if I can do the quote justice, the quote is, stand up straight and know who you are. You tower above your circumstances.
Yeah.
If I could help someone remember all of that and feel that and do that.
You mean the confidence? Confidence. What is this thing called confidence?
What is that?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not to be sucked down by the circumstances, right?
Yeah.
The circumstances are there to make us who we're supposed to be.
That's lovely.
So whether it's a great, win or the biggest challenge of your life, you have to be grateful for both, because you will become who you are meant to become through both of those experiences.
That's a beautiful way to end this interview.
Thanks.
So tell us, Ellyn, where can we find you online?
Oh, the easiest, fastest way is LinkedIn.
Got it. Yes.
Right. We're all there. So just Ellyn Herbert. If you put my name in there, and I can send you a link, Jane.
We'll have the links below for sure. Anywhere where you hang out, we'll have that so people can connect with you. And,
love it.
Maybe we'll find mentors.
Can we?
Can we imagine?
Oh my God. Can you mentor me? I'll mentor you.
Okay, that sounds fine. That sounds good.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Ellyn. Wow, I mean, you have so much amazing things to say, and we're really excited to share it with our audience. So
thank you so much, Jane. Every time I speak to you, I enjoy myself and get so much out of it. And what you bring to the world. When are we going to see an interview of you?
Oh, well, that would be heinous. A heinous act of, what do you call, too controlling of power. Yeah.
Oh,
No,
it would be awesome. Thanks, Jane.